Hey guys, I wanted to make some more comments and make sure I clarified in regards to the E-collar and layering in, Stim Collar is what I call it, the Stim Collar and layering it in properly. If you do things right and you understand operant conditioning and how dogs learn and you have a good sense of the basics of training and you do things right, it's very much like how much time I spend in setting up my communication of no, good, and yes with a dog. You ever notice, if you watch me long enough, you notice that I don't cut any corners. I take my time and I make sure I have good conditioning using the no, good, and the yes and marker training in such a way that I can use that to build off of for the advancement of the dog. And if I do things right, that communication baseboard will always be there for me to use, and the dog's confusion and or better yet, his understanding is a lot more when I try to teach him things new, right? Because he's learned to learn in the right way, and now when I teach him something new, I have the same psychology involved with how I've conditioned the dog to understand no, good, and yes, to be able to use for all the higher things that we're going to be doing with the dog. It pays off in dividends to take your time and to make sure you're methodical and get that ingrained in the dog. So the same thing happens when you're layering in the collar. It has a specific way of being layered in, with my method anyway, that I make sure I take my time and I use that to my benefit, so that that is going to be what carries the dog through all the other stuff that we do using that tool, right? If we do it right, the dog's attitude about it, his whole sense of the collar and what it is and all that psychology that goes behind it is a very positive thing and not a negative thing, because you've given the power to the dog and he understands how to turn it off, right? We methodically work very hard to convey that to the dog. The only thing, and I think that most people looking at it from the concept of how would somebody that has no clue that comes in and slaps a collar on a dog and thinks they're going to get somewhere with it, what is their perceptions and how they use it? They're going to be screwing up if they don't understand the fact that it's not punishment. It's a signal, right? That we're teaching the dog the whole psychology behind him being the one, or her being the one, the dog being the one that is the one turning off that stimulation by complying to something they already know. And it's called escape and avoidance for a reason. On one aspect, you see me talking about mixing things up, right? What I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure that the dog learns how to win totally. And when they learn how to do it, they avoid the collar altogether, right? And or escape. So that's why we call it avoidance and escape training, right? Because, and this is very synonymous with E-collars, or Stim Collars, right? Bottom line is, if he does the right thing, he doesn't even I don't even touch the button. And I mix things up well enough that I show him that that answer is there, right? I don't hit the button all the time when I get to a certain level. I start working on making sure the dog starts to understand that, wow, I took off and went right back towards him, and as I'm coming, I didn't even feel the collar. There was no collar. Wow, that works, and now he gets high on that. As long as you keep up your other conditioning as far as your target hand moving backwards so he wants to chase, I've got my voice tone in there, I've got all my body language in there, I'm giving a lot of emotions to the dog to show him, again, how to win, right? And when he learns that that's the right answer, he's going to be on the positive side of the whole process, right? And you have to do very, very small, limited amounts of discomfort that you raise it up to a level that he learns to avoid, because there is some of that. But the big key is to realize it's not you just hitting the button. It's how you do things, how you mix things up, how you end up showing the dog that he can escape and or avoid the collar all the way, right? Because avoidance is a part of it, right? When you start doing things, that mix-up, when I call Bruno with me, and right away I'm moving backwards and I don't even hit the collar, he goes, oh, wow, look at that. I can even do this and not even have to even feel that collar if I do it right, right? But I always have that other stuff, which is all the emotional, voice tone, body language, the positive side of things, again, to reaffirm to him that, wow, this is how you win. And it feels so good to win, right? You create a lot more motivation and drive that is still there in your book of tricks, your bag of tricks that you're pulling out, and you're not even using the collar at that point, right? That mix-up is the key. When you do it, when you don't, and making sure you don't, as Michael Ellis said, poison the cue by doing it so much that all you're doing is using that button, right? that's really the key. And I have learned this by doing, right? Because I have a little bit more ability to read and to sense and to feel, mainly because I've been doing it for so many years, okay? But bottom line is, this is something I can't give you. I can't give you my instinct and my, what I call my gut feeling, my emotional side that I learned to harness when I was a child, because I didn't have anybody to tell me how to deal with it. Back then, we were doing pretty much all yank and crank. In other words, what they call avoidance, right? And using the leash for corrections. And back then, I didn't have any school, somebody telling me I need to have food. I had no food. All I had was my voice and being able to pick the dog back up and get him past what I call the sad sack. He'd start getting all bummed out because I was yanking on him. And I saw that, and I learned real well how to put in the positive with my emotional side, right? And get the dog through it. And when the dog started to learn how to win, he got happy. And because then he understood how to avoid the corrections altogether, and he came into it, and it worked great. But that's old school. Nowadays, I have a lot more things in my tool bag. I use food, I use toys, I use all kinds of motivational tools, but I also understand the old school and aversives and avoidance and escape. That's always going to be something I've got in my tool bag, right? But it comes from the emotional side, guys. There's a girl that's got a training video, and I haven't watched it yet, and I'm going to go purchase it. But it's on one of those sites that has a lot of these people doing classes, and they're doing these videos and going out there and presenting a certain concept to you. And in this case, there's somebody that's been doing one that's called emotional. It's all about the emotions of the dog. So she's showing a lot of going after the ball and getting motivated and a lot of voice tone and I haven't really even watched the video yet, but I know what's going to be there, because that's one of my main parts of my training is understanding all that, right? Understanding that it's all about ability to mix all this stuff up in such a way that you get the dog through there and they end up having a very positive attitude about the training, right? So in that case, that emotional aspect of things and what she's presenting is probably going to be a pretty good thing, but a lot of it's going to be something I already know. No big deal. I'll go over there and I'll rehash it, refresh my mind, see how she's accenting things, right? How she verbalizes, how she expresses it, how does she explain it? Because a lot of the times when I'm watching these trainers do all this, I'm listening to how they explain it, how they put it forward, because that's all about teaching. I need to be able to have those skills and say, maybe that person says something different or calls it something different or accents it a different way that can be beneficial to me when I present it to my customers, right? So we're getting it to a point where it's not all about the dog, it's about the customer. And that's kind of the world I live in nowadays. It's about me becoming a better teacher, being able to motivate people. It's a whole different side of the coin. It really is. All right, I'll let you guys go. So Mark Ferrasci, ProTech Dog Training, talking a lot more about the Stim Collar and training in general and yakking at the screen. I don't know if I'm going to post this, but I should. But I've been doing a lot of presentation online as of late, and I have a feeling that some people get bored, don't want to listen to my yakking, etc. So but I'm into it. I mean, it's beautiful weather right now. The weather's getting good. It's training time. Let's get busy, baby. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day, guys.